Dear viewers and listeners, welcome back to We Matter. As you know, we have got with us Dr. Sadrudin Pardhan, who is sharing the story of institutional development. The commitment and dedication of the dedicated individuals can revolutionize a society, community, and the country. The fruit of such efforts are not for a specific group or a minority, but for all. We shared some background with you to help you understand better. We hope you enjoyed the introduction as shared by Dr. Sadrudin Pardhan. Stay with us as we continue the journey. Progress is not one man's job. It requires a visionary leader with dedication and committed team. With the remarkable team in place and a well-defined roadmap with the vision of His Highness Aga Khan IV, the experts on board, so shall we say, sir, a dream was awaiting for its transformation into reality? And at that time, how did you set the wheels in motion, managing such an ambitious undertaking with even greater goals resting on your shoulders? All of it must have been quite a challenge. So, sir, please share how did you steer the process to keep everything moving forward?
Yes, remember, no one person does that. We had a fantastic team. I mean, the commitment, Nusrat, was phenomenal. The faculty was so committed, and we never looked at the clock. It was just work, 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 work,
Now
work.
that the Board of Trustees had approved the proposal, there was a lot of work to be done. For example, we needed to now engage with international funding agencies to ensure that we have enough funds to commence the project. Number two, there was a lot of work to be done about exposure to other institutions, other universities by various Acadian agencies. Number three, we also had to start planning for the programs that IED was going to conduct. So the time was limited. And in my personal case, I also was the CEO of Aga Khan Education Service, so this meant there was a lot of work. But it was exciting times, and I really was cherishing what was going on. So one of the first things that happened was that three of us, one person from Aga Khan University, myself as the CEO of AKES, and one person from Aga Khan Foundation, we traveled to the United States and Canada, visited some institutions where work similar to what we were planning to do at AKU-IED was going on. So we visited Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and visited the Shenley School, where some excellent work was going on school improvement. We visited Michigan State University, met with the faculty there. We visited some of their school improvement programs. From there, we went to Canada. We visited some of the schools in Toronto area. We then went to United Kingdom in England. We visited Oxford University and visited some of the schools where their field-based teacher education programs were going on. And of course, we met with the faculty also. So these were all very exciting times. It was a good exposure for us. We were also getting to know the faculty from different parts of the of North America and Europe. And so that was one part. The second part was that Aga Khan Foundation has started soliciting funding from various international agencies. Many agencies were contacted. Our proposal was shared with a lot of them. And surprisingly enough, we had very, very positive feedback from many of them. And ultimately, the amount that we required was in place. Major funding came from European community, from Canadian CEDA, from United Nations Development Program, and Aga Khan Foundation. And of course, ultimately, when it was agreed that the Professional Development Center of Aga Khan University, IED, would be built in Karachi, it was suggested that it should be built on the campus where Aga Khan School, Sultan Muhammad Shah Aga Khan School, is located, because there was enough land available there, and land was already owned by Aga Khan Foundation. So there was one additional part of funding that came from Aga Khan Foundation. So by late 1992, we had all the funding in place. It had been guaranteed, and so we were now already starting to plan the other aspects of IED. We still needed to formally develop the curriculum framework that we would use. We had agreed that the capacity development would first go through the development of a Master of Education program, which would be a very innovative program, a 2-year program, as much field-based as was possible. And for that, we needed to develop ideas. So the task force met in USA, and we developed a framework where the faculty members from different potential partner universities participated, and we worked out what kind of a program it would be, and we also worked out what kind of faculty would be required. The second step was what happens after the MEd program was done. We also developed a program called the Visiting Teacher Program, which was really a certificate program, which would develop professionally the teachers from the schools where the MEd participants would come. And this also required some thinking, and we agreed on a very intensive 8-week program. Now, these teachers would go back to their positions at the school where they were working, and as more and more of them qualified, we would have like-minded teachers working together to drive the overall school improvement program. This was done. Thirdly, we also had to look at potential research areas, and so this was also discussed. So all these were, again, exciting times. We worked out all these frameworks, and so that part was going on. We had developed the details of funding, and so it's sort of, for me, it was an amazing time because it gave me a perspective of how development work really happens. It required a lot of work, a lot of different people working together, but we were all working for the same cause. So it was really exciting times. In the meantime, His Highness the Aga Khan, as the head of AKDN, had already approved the establishment of Aga Khan Higher Secondary School in the same campus where the Professional Development Center, where IED was going to be housed, was being built. So these were also now coming together. We also developed the profile of the kind of leadership we would have at AKU-IED. And once we were now ready, in late 1992, we advertised for these positions in the local press and internationally. And we were very fortunate that we got a number of applications, and ultimately we selected Professor Dr. Kazim Bakas, who was at that time working with the Faculty of Education at the University of Alberta. He was originally from Guyana and was settled in Canada. So we were lucky that we got a very high-profile director. We then had a number of faculty positions that were filled. In fact, I myself qualified for one of those positions, and there were other people who were brought on board. So once the director was on board, we decided that we needed to work on the finer details of the master's program and the visiting teacher program. So a workshop was conducted in April 1993 in Karachi, where we had participants from various academic institutions. We had participants from the government. We had participants from some colleges in Pakistan. And we had partner university participation also. And we were also lucky to get the head of the Shenley School in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. So we worked on that over a period of 2 weeks, and we developed based on the framework, we developed a program, which was then sent to the Board of Graduate Studies of Aga Khan University for its approval. So things were now in place, and we were now ready to start IED formally on 1st of July 1993. So by July 1st, 1993, we were ready to open doors for Aga Khan University Institute for Educational Development. The director was on board. 2 faculty members were on board. We had a senior staff member on board, but a lot of work still needed to be done. We had to hire various people. We identified a temporary location from where we could operate, because construction was not to be done until 1994. We had to acquire a lot of materials. We had to get formal approvals for our master's program from the Board of Graduate Studies of Aga Khan University. We also had to purchase a lot of materials to get our system going. But we had a lot of cooperation from the Aga Khan University. They had lots of experience in material management, so we were able to acquire most of the stuff. They allowed us some leeway into purchasing materials as quickly as was possible. In the meantime, of course, we were also planning to start our master's program in January of 1994. So a lot of work had to be done. We had to identify candidates, and as per our approval, we had to identify teachers from Aga Khan Education Service, from the government, from the not-for-profit organizations. So all that needed a lot of work. We were very fortunate that as far as the government was concerned, we had a very cooperative director of education in Karachi, late Anwar Ahmadzai, who identified 24 schools in District South in Karachi. And we visited those schools, we talked to the teachers, we talked to the principals, and there was generally a lot of excitement that there was something new going to happen. In collaboration with Aga Khan Education Service, we visited the big schools in Karachi area. Again, we talked to the teachers, we talked to the school principal, we talked to the education officer of Aga Khan Education Service, and we were able to identify appropriate candidates for that. We advertised in the newspapers about participation in our programs from the not-for-profit organizations. We got a good response. We held initial meetings. A few dropped out after they heard that they would have to collaborate partially financially, because we felt that every teacher who came for this program should continue getting the salary. We were meeting all the other costs. There were no fees to be charged. So a lot of schools agreed, but some felt that they could not afford this, which was fine. So by December, we had all the candidates identified from Karachi area. We also wanted to enable Aga Khan Development Network in Bangladesh, in East Africa, in Gilgit-Baltistan and Chitral, to identify candidates who could also participate, because this was going to be very important, because for the future school improvement programs in their various areas, it was important to develop some capacity. So there was a lot of traveling to be done. You know, I recall going to Bangladesh, working with the education officers of Aga Khan Education Service there. We identified candidates. In fact, at that time, we were also hoping that India would participate. So I recall traveling to India. We identified a candidate. We went to East Africa, to Kenya and Tanzania, where we identified candidates from Aga Khan Education Service. And then we also got a request from Aga Khan Foundation, because there was a candidate in Tajikistan who they felt would serve the education system well if he got a place, and we interviewed the person and we found that person to be very suitable. So we identified that person, and there was a special request from GTZ, the German funding agency, to enable one of their candidates to participate in the program, and after consultation with the various leaders, we were able to do that. So by December, we had 24 candidates who had been identified, and so we were all set to start the program. In collaboration with Aga Khan Education Service, it was agreed that for part of the course, we would utilize the services of Sultan Mahmud Shah Aga Khan School, where field work could be done. In the meantime, we also had to finalize our partnership agreements with Oxford University and University of Toronto, because by then it was now clear that we could not form a partnership with Michigan State University, partly because there was no funding available because of the Pressler recommendation, because the U.S. Congress had not allowed any funding to go to Pakistan. So instead, we approached the University of Toronto Faculty of Education, and they participated. So we now had everything in place. So come January 4th, 1994, we opened our doors, and unfortunately, the Indian candidate could not get visas to come to Pakistan, so we started our program with 23 participants. And again, unfortunately, one of the 23 candidates dropped out because of medical reasons, so we actually ended up with 22 candidates who started the master's program. The program itself took off extremely well. It was a very, very intensive program, mornings and afternoons. It also included lots of field visits. All the candidates visited government schools, private schools, AKU-IED schools, just to get a feel for what was going on in those schools. And some of the comments that the participants made were amazing. They said this was the first time that they had ever visited a government school or some other school. So all this was done. The course went on well. There were two other things that happened that are very, very important. One was that in the first quarter of 1994, the Chancellor's Commission for Aga Khan University, after its work, recommended strongly that the IED program should become a permanent program of Aga Khan University, which was an absolutely amazing thing for AKU-IED. It was no longer a project, it was a program. And secondly, we also started a parallel school heads development program, because we felt that if the teachers were well qualified at the master's level, when they went to schools, there would be some conflict with the school principals. So we developed a program for the school principals, and in fact, over a period of 2 years, we ended up running 42 seminars where these people participated. So it was quite amazing that good things were happening as we went along. So the first part of the course got over. The course participants, as per our agreement with the funding agencies, visited Oxford University and University of Toronto. And by the time they came back, the construction of the Professional Development Center had already taken place. So in December, we all moved into the building, and it was officially inaugurated by His Highness Aga Khan and the Chief Justice of Pakistan, Sajjad Ali Shah, at that time, in November of 1994. So things were really going well. The course continued in 1995. The participants did their fieldwork, their research projects, and by July of 1995, they had graduated. And so then a part of the group was selected to develop the first visiting teacher program, which was a certificate program. Again, they worked very closely with the faculty and with the partner university faculty, developed a marvelous program. And so we got 17 candidates from our cooperating schools, went through the certificate program. Once that program was over, which was targeting social sciences and English, we started with the mathematics and science program. So a new group of MEd graduates who had graduated in July came. Again, did the same thing. They developed the curriculum for the certificate program together with our faculty and partner universities, and that program went into action in February. We also realized that it would be important to also have a visiting teacher program for primary level teachers. So we collaborated with Sheffield Hallam University and got some expertise from there. They worked with our faculty and the course participants, developed a program, and we ran a visiting teacher program for primary teachers. So by the end of by the middle of 1996, we had completed a number of visiting teachers programs, and the teachers were extremely happy. Schools were ecstatic about this, and the school improvement programs had started.
Yeah. So thank you, sir. I just wanted to get your concluding remarks on,
Yes, sir.
but we cannot end it because this is an ongoing journey. But still, we feel, how do you see that ID has made its impact, increased its footmarks, and is going ahead? Do you see IED going and following the way you wanted to
By
see
then,
it?
the midterm evaluation of IED had been done, and IED got very high marks. In fact, in most programs, IED had overachieved. By middle of the year, our director, Dr. Kazim Bakas, was very keen to host an international conference. And we were very lucky that in early April, we hosted an international conference and were able to invite very distinguished educators like Professor Michael Fullen of Ontario Institute of Studies in Education. We had somebody called Terry Carson from University of Alberta, and a number of other distinguished educators from United States, from Canada, from Singapore, from Hong Kong, from Sri Lanka, and of course from across Pakistan. Now, at the conference, we showcased the MEd program, the visiting teacher program, and how our own graduates had developed a curriculum for the schools, and how they had actually taken over the teaching and learning for the certificate program. The participants were very, very impressed. One very major outcome of this particular conference was that a few days after the conference was over, our director received a phone call from the Secretary Education, Government of Balochistan, who requested IED's help to improve the quality of education. He indicated that Balochistan government had some funding from the World Bank, but would really like IED's support. So a team of IED faculty went there, and we looked at the programs. We developed a roadmap for them, where we suggested that we should develop capacity through the MEd program. We also suggested that we could involve the teachers from various districts of Balochistan, develop them through a mentoring program, and then use that as an avenue to conduct programs at the district levels, which would be cluster-based programs, and see what the results were like. So after a lot of discussions, IED agreed that it would develop about 12 people through the master's program. So the first group would come in 1996, which was just a few months away from the time that we started discussing. It was going to be very tight, but we agreed, and then we also laid down possibilities of different kinds of courses while the capacity was being developed. Now, what was really exciting for us was that this was a government within Pakistan requesting IED's support. Now, this came, of course, much earlier than we had anticipated, but after discussions at the highest level within the university, we agreed that it would be a good idea to participate in this particular enterprise, and we sent a team to Balochistan that selected 4 participants for the second MEd program. Around that time, we were also selecting candidates from the other parts of the country and from other countries. So we had already done a major selection process in Gilgit-Baltistan, Chitral. We had also done selection in Bangladesh. We again visited India and identified a candidate, hoping that the person would get a visa. This time around, we had more people from East Africa, and then, of course, we had the requisite numbers from the government, from AKES and private not-for-profit system. So we ended up with 35 candidates, which was a little more than what we had anticipated, but we were very happy to do that. Our partnership with both Oxford and Toronto was progressing extremely well, and the certificate programs are also going very well. So we started the second MEd program, and soon after we also conducted 4 certificate programs for Balochistan. We used to get 10 people from each of the district selected, and the idea was that over a period of about 3 to 4 years, we would cover all the districts. And it was our own graduates who actually taught the particular program. Now, one interesting thing was that the Balochistan teachers who came for the certificate program did not have very good English language skills. So IED identified from amongst its MA graduates those people who were fluent with Urdu to teach the program through Urdu language. We also hired a couple of other people who were Urdu speaking and whose mentoring skills were very good to come and join the team. So, overall there was a lot of success happening within the IED. So we had our second MA program ongoing, we had certificate programs ongoing, we had now the Balochistan partnership going on. And the other most interesting thing that was happening was that because IED was getting known, we had to cope with a lot of visitors because they wanted to see what was it that was happening within Aga Khan University, that things were things were so popular. So they would come and we discussed our models with them, and wherever assistance was required, we did that. We got special requests from not-for-profit schools, and there was one particular system that made a very good case. So we worked with its board and its management and its teachers, worked out a plan, and after we were convinced that the school had a very good mission and vision, their value systems were very good, the teachers were very keen to participate. So we took them on, and we got a candidate from that school system also. So while the second MA program was going on, our first director, the contract was over and he decided not to renew, which was a pity, but we got a replacement of him. A gentleman called Dr. Robert Baker came and joined us, who was also very, very good. And he was a kind of a perfectionist, and just around that time we also realized that it was very difficult to hire local faculty. So we made a request to all our funding organizations that we would like to make a new long-term finance plan and invest part of the money in faculty development, because it was difficult to hire the kind of people we wanted from within Pakistan. So we decided that we would like to develop our own. And the most exciting thing was that from our first MA program, we had 5 very strong candidates who could actually be developed further. Plus, our external examiners had indicated that there were 3 more who could easily be developed through a PhD program overseas. So even the funding agencies were very pleased, and they agreed to the new finance plan. One of the things, other than the human resource development, that we had requested was extension of the IED building, because already we were noticing that it was becoming very difficult to cope as far as space was concerned. So we decided to build a new floor to accommodate more students, to accommodate more faculty, to create new specialty rooms, to develop a proper conference room. And so suddenly, within 4 years of IED's establishment, we were already expanding it, and we were warned that if things go this way, we might end up expanding it further later on. Now, just as the Balochistan program was coming to an end, we got a request from the government of Sindh that they also wanted to develop their middle management people through a leadership program. and they had acquired funding from Asian Development Bank. So after appropriate approvals, we also ran a number of programs for the government of Sindh middle management people. And again, what was exciting was that here was government approaching us to conduct programs for them. And for us, this was excellent news, which means that our programs are good. They were becoming popular, and the participants were very, very pleased with the programs. One other thing that our funding agencies had approved was that the MEd program, which initially was only going to be 2 cohorts, would now become a permanent program with the approval from the Chancellor's Commission that IED should become a full-fledged program of AKU. It made sense that it became a yearly intake 2-year program, and it would be an ongoing program. So by the turn of the century, a lot of exciting things had happened. We had our final evaluation, which was also excellent, and we, as a result of that, we got funding for the second phase from 2001 to 2007 from the European Commission, and we were able to get other smaller donations.
So thank you so much for this fruitful discussion and sharing the birth of an institution which you all conceived and conceptualized, and then you all nurtured it through your passion, through your diligent hard work. I think this is a commendable thing. We all appreciate the efforts brought up by Aga Khan Development Network. And it is, when we set standards for ourselves that we are not going to compromise on quality, we certainly can give quality human resource. We certainly can deliver the best. I hope and pray, all the best to Aga Khan Development Network and the people who are working under this flagship. And I hope that, and by listening to all of your conversation, I think Hina and we both are motivated to get enrolled in one of the programs. I wish we do.
Exactly.
I would actually like to get enrolled in the schools, sir, and start learning again, because this is the inspiration that I have got after listening to from an educationist, a reformer, a thinker, a revolutionary in the field of education.
Believe it or not, today when I look at schools like Aga Khan Higher Secondary School in Karachi, Aga Khan Higher Secondary School in Gilgit, in Karimabad, Hunza, in Dhakuj, in Chitral, I'm telling you, they are absolutely amazing institutions. And I think I'm so lucky to get such high quality education.
Sir, I want to add, I will second Musarat. People often recognize institutions as they are today, but very few know the full sequence of hard work, the whole process, the vision, the set of challenges, and the dedication that brought them here, carrying institutional history. So I think we should benefit more from you. So a heartfelt thanks to you for being with us again, and not just for your valuable insights, but for walking us through the whole institutional history that often goes unnoticed.
Well, it's been a pleasure. It's been a pleasure. Thank you very much for inviting me.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
So that brings us to the end of yet another insightful and thought-provoking discussion with Dr. Pardhan. Today's episode truly emphasized the depth of thought, the dedication, and the journey behind the establishment of esteemed institutions like AKU-IED. Dr. Pardhan has beautifully captured this legacy in his book, My Journey with AKU-IED, If you are interested in reading more about this journey, feel free to contact us through the comments section, and we would be happy to send you a copy of this book, that too free of cost. There is still so much more to explore and learn from Dr. Pardhan, and we will be diving into that in the next part of this episode coming very soon. Until then, stay connected with us through the comment section and keep supporting meaningful conversations. Take care, goodbye, and have a very good day. Allah Hafiz.